guy for a shirt.
Oh, it's beautiful. I'm comfortable.
I wish I could pull it off.
Hey, everybody.
Archie.
How we doing?
All right, Coach, we got Delaware neutral site game at UBS Arena, part of a triple header on Saturday with a middle game of the three. Just your thoughts on the Blue Pens.
Well, Saturday will be a great opportunity. Fantastic arena. Getting more basketball activity in that arena is something that groups have looked to do, and we're excited to have an opportunity to go to New York and play. It's something that we looked at as a positive, not only for current guys on the roster, but future guys on the roster. And having an opportunity to play Delaware is going to be another really, really tough, hard-fought, game. They're extremely old, veteran-oriented. They play with great poise. They have a really unique attack. I think Davis is probably one of the more underrated, maybe under the radar impact players in college basketball right now with how he plays. He's very, very unique, inside out, commands a lot of attention. But they do it by committee. They have a great way of playing on both ends of the floor, a lot of versatility, don't beat themselves at all. And, just coming off the Charleston game for us, looking at that league, I have a hard time imagining that Charleston and now Delaware, and watching them both, won't contend for that league title as the regular season goes. So we're playing against good teams, and most importantly, Delaware is going to present a lot of challenges. They're off to a great start. They've got great wins, have played a lot of games away from home and neutral and away. But you can tell they're very, very veteran-oriented, very organized and poised in the way that they play. And we're going to have to, clearly be, as we head in here from a preparation standpoint, ready to go on Saturday.
You obviously have a good resource for them. Your brother just played them a week ago. Conversations with him, thoughts on, what he saw from them?
Yeah, I think more along the lines, I think the big thing is teams are different, so what they did and how they played in that game may not apply to us in terms of our personnel or what Xavier was trying to do. I think you can get maybe a gauge on, personnel, what guys really look like in the game and what they did in the game, but we have a ton of footage. And they had a tremendous win at Xavier in that game. They were fantastic. In particular, second half, especially on offense, they showed how dynamic they could be from different positions. But if you watch them play against GW, you watch them play against Brown, another common opponent, you watch them play against UNC Greensboro or Robert Morris the other night, you have a feel for how they do things. And, for us, we need to really focus, sort of on ourselves. Our team has changed here rapidly in the last week. We're having to do some different things. So we've really been spending a lot of time on ourselves and how, when we play, we can be better at handling some of the adjustments with lineups out there that we have. But I got a lot of respect for Delaware. I have a lot of respect for their players. I think that they're going to have a fantastic season, but I also think that 95% of my concern is our guys.
Speaking of rapid changes here, obviously the NCAA, what happened yesterday happens. What was your initial reaction, and where are you guys at in terms of David's situation?
Frustrating. It's frustrating. David was a part of that waiver process for months, stayed engaged the best he could, and then there's some clarity in terms of a final decision is made. And, in David's case, he makes the decision to, start to rest and recuperate a knee. He starts to take a little bit of time off in terms of, getting himself healthy. It's a long grind to come back in terms of his next progression. Then all of a sudden this pops up on the radar and kind of gets everyone's attention and hopes up. I have no final thoughts or answers on how this will apply to us and David. David won't probably be available, I don't think, in the near future until there's some rock-solid information that his eligibility is fine. Playing an ineligible player would be fine. What are the ramifications of all that? If he doesn't lose this year, how does it work? But it's not fair to David. So what we have to do is what's best for him and what's best for our team. And right now it's just taking all the information. And I haven't spoken to anybody today that says, hey, this is exactly how this looks and this is exactly how this is going to work. And if you want to handle it one way, go that direction. We still are in a gray area. And I think Shane may have mentioned something to me on the way in that maybe something recently just came out where they're not sure how eligibility would be. So at this point in time, David's not in our plan Saturday, but we're going to have to start weighing some options here as we look around the country as certain guys are starting to participate. And as you head into conference play, that would be a different story here, but not fair to David, not fair to our team just to say, hey, oh, he's back, here we go. It's not that easy. So we'll play it by ear. Anything that obviously becomes ironclad information to operate off of, that's a lot different, for us to be able to do. But right now, like I said, it's unfortunate that this is even stirred up again, considering where we were at 2-3 weeks ago, moving in one direction. So we'll play it by ear. You got to roll with the punches nowadays in college athletics. It seems like there's something new up every day, and like I said, we'll wait and see.
You changed up your starting five, Charleston. A couple different guys going in there, like always. Just what were your, thoughts in terms of doing that, and how did you think?
Well, we didn't learn that David Fuchs was going to be available until late Friday night. So when we found out that David wasn't going to be taking the trip, that significantly changed our rotation and who was going to have to play minutes. Started Josephat based on his defensive performance and maybe giving us our best chance with a smaller lineup defensively. It was basically a game decision. I think that'll change again as we go here to Delaware, as we can continue to put our thoughts. David still has not returned. As we kind of play into this one here, we'll see kind of where we go. But we have to make sure that Brandon's gearing back up, and we're going to have to make sure that we're a little bit more organized in terms of when those small guys are out there, how we played. We haven't played that like that very much. We've had to play a full 40 almost at Charleston to be able to be successful, and it wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination. So we can get better in that area. But we're probably like a lot of teams. We're dealing with some ins and some outs. There's some guys in, we have some guys out. We're having to adjust on the fly. And, I think right now it's probably been the most challenging for our staff just in terms of, where are we spending our time and where are we investing our time with the guys in terms of preparing to play the game rather than just continuing to stay steady with the normal rotation. It happens. But we'll see. As we head into Delaware, I anticipate maybe a new lineup change, but it won't be because of anything somebody did. It'll be based on this going into the game. This group has the best feel for what we're trying to do.
Do you think you might have either one, Brandon or David?
Brandon, I would say, is trending in the right direction. David right now is not trending in the right direction just in terms of being available. He hasn't been available since last Friday afternoon until he stopped. So he's in his, like I said last night on my radio show, he's in protocols, and he'll be getting evaluated every day. And when he's cleared to kind of start to resume basketball, he'll start to resume.
In terms of the NCAA and their process, you said they should be out of the waiver process. I agree with that personally. But would this have affected the way you might have recruited if you thought there would be two-time transfers eligible, that they would ultimately grant relief at some point?
100%. And there's so many guys that you didn't deal with in the springtime because they weren't going to play. And as we're trying to rebuild our program and add bodies, you can't take guys that aren't going to play. David was a one-off in terms of being able to make that decision, whether it was long-term or short-term. We also felt like in taking him that he also had a heck of a presentation in terms of why he should be eligible. So there was a 50-50 there, and we were okay with it. But you open up a whole new pool of people if you can dive into that fold and bring guys in on the two-time transfer waiver, because there's a lot of guys that are probably a lot of different places right now sitting that we never even broached the topic of conversation because of a two-time transfer and wouldn't be eligible to help us, which right now we're not in the business of sitting guys. We needed immediate help, production. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure every college coach in the country would have probably said we bypassed on numerous opportunities to recruit guys or even try to fight for the waivers. You know what I mean? It's one of those deals where, you know these guys are all going to probably sit and probably all have a case, but you're not willing to go to battle, with three guys and all of this stuff. It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, it's very unfortunate, and I think the thing that's really unfortunate is I think everyone looks to pile on the NCAA all the time. They shouldn't be in the waiver process, but they're really honoring the membership's recommendations. This is collegiate presidents, boards, other NCAA, boards. There's thousands of people that garner a lot of information over time on this transfer thing, and if they're going to say you can transfer one time without penalty, great, and it doesn't really matter what your circumstances are after a second time you sit and you get mentally ready to go or physically ready to go or whatever it may be in that year to get yourself ready to go. But there's no waivers. It's cut and dry. And I think when they opened up the waiver process for certain criteria, you got a lot of people that have certain criteria that want to kind of dive into that field and kind of expand on their situation. So it's unfortunate, but like I said, this isn't the NCAA making up rules and us just having to navigate it. This is the membership. This is every university that's part of the NCAA agrees to this and moves forward with this, and we want one-time transfers only, and the problem is the waiver. If there's no waiver, there's no problems.
In terms of second half, Charleston,
Yeah.
they come up firing. I guess what you talk to you guys about in terms of handling that adversity and sort of bouncing back?
Well, I'll tell you one, Charleston, a lot of credit. They're about 11 or 12 deep. They keep that pace up on you. They got a unique style with how they play. They're very difficult to guard. And the way that they offensive rebound, really, it just keeps coming at you. I thought in the first half, the ability to hold them to one offensive rebound was one of the reasons it's a 50-50 game. When you go into the second half, the game really changed with their mentality, their pace. They just kept coming, but they really started to get on the glass. They had 10 offensive rebounds in the second half, and that right away just set the tone. It changed the game. And from that point forward, they sort of had their foot on the pedal. But it was great I said this last night, you'd like to learn and win. It's the ideal world. You're learning and you're winning. We're learning and we're not, but we're getting exposed. And if we can get some of these things that we're getting exposed and corrected and moving in the right direction, then I think we'll start to play a more competitive, deal. We're not playing bad teams. We're not playing. Every game that we've played has been a 50-50 game. And when you're at Charleston on the road, or you're at Providence, or Brown for that matter at home, really well coached, good team, and you're moving into Delaware, like, you don't have the room for error. You're not going to get away with some of that stuff. And with an inexperienced group like us, sometimes youth, sometimes just fracturing because of the inexperience, the lack of being there together and been there, done that, what happens to us is there's a bottom, just falls out real quick. And it's tough to get that bottom back up when you're not a really well-schooled, tough-minded group. And I think that's part of what we have to become. As we go on this journey and as we progress with this group has to continue. I said maturity, but this group has to become more tough-minded. We have to grow up a little bit. We have to, understand there's going to be hard times in games. But a lot of the things that we're not doing well, you're not going to beat a lot of people on any night if you can't get back, you can't defend for 40 minutes. You have to be able to set your defense. You have to be able to rebound the ball effectively against anybody you play. And, those things have to get cleaned up or we won't see more success. If we get a couple of those things cleaned up, we'll see more success. So I think as a staff, it's kind of like, Providence, Yale, Providence, Delaware, they're all good teams. We have got to make some jumps in a couple of these areas, and that's why we have to focus in, on our guys. And I think as we continue to go and continue to get better, and the big thing is to continue to show progress in those areas, and we'll find some more positive moments for our team.
And Louis was in here before. He mentioned he's leaving some tickets for families. At Dwayne is probably going to have a pretty big contingent there. Do you expect to have good backing on Saturday?
I always expect to have good backing when we're in the East Coast corridor. I think URI travels well. I think Rhody, people show up all over the place when we're playing in these type of situations. A neutral site game at a big-time arena where the Islanders play. They want to bring more basketball in. There's a triple header. I suspect that we'll have a nice faction of people there. But I also think having that New York element on your team gives you some more people in the house, so it'll be good. I'm sure Delaware will have some people as well. But I'm anxious to get there. I hear the arena's, fantastic, and I think it's going to become more of a fixture in college basketball as it continues to go, year in and year out. So we're excited to get there and play the game. Triple header. Gives us another opportunity on a neutral setting. I think this will be our 11th game, and this will be at least our third neutral and our second true road. So we're moving in the direction of we need to get some home games. Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Any final questions? All right, folks, we'll let Coach get going.
All right, everybody. See you guys.